immaturity is inevitable. You know what I mean? Kadaka childishness, it's pretty much still there, especially if you believe that you cannot suppress.
Having a side chick is not God-honoring. It will mess up your home if you're married. And if you're in a committed relationship that you're hoping will get to marriage, it sets a bad tone. It sets a bad pattern. Your wife needs you, sir. You need to go back home and build your marriage.
So before we get into the episode, here are 5 things that you're going to learn from today's show. Number 1, husbands, pursue your own wife. Invest in your marriages and not going after other women. You have a wife that you need to learn, so pursue her. Build your marriage and work on it. Number 3 is spend money on a lady that is not disrespecting to your wife. I know you love to spend money. I know you want to show off, but do it in a way that does not disrespect your wife's integrity. And number 4 is marriage is all about accountability. So you need to be accountable to your wife. That means allowing her access to your privacy, right? And number 5 is husbands, own up to your baggage. Take responsibility. Welcome back to the episode. We're here to close this topic once and for all. The world of the married. If you did not catch, the theme of our previous July theme. I haven't recorded for the past month. Yes, I was having phone issues and phone problems. So yeah, for now I have it fixed, but I'm working on to getting a better phone so that I can produce more and better content for you to listen. So yes, we are at a point where we need to end the topic, right? So it's the world of the married, and I feel like we've talked about the married people a lot, but I wanted you to understand that the world of the married was not specifically just for the married people. My understanding of the world of the married is that somehow we're all involved in this bubble of marriage. Married people are letting us in their marriages, and that's where we're seeing married men getting in side chicks and married men, marrying other women and calling in second wives. And unfortunately, I didn't get to bring in the married men that I actually wanted to speak on the matter. There was very philosophical points of views. One of the men that I wanted to speak on had the view, look, Chris, I think men are naturally polygamous. Allow it. You know what I mean? Men are naturally polygamous. Allow it. Why are we giving in to what the Western man has told us? And for him, that was his point of view. Amazing POV right there, right? And there was another side of things that was like, look, certain things you can explain. The only way to explain this particular matter is that the fact is that we're not going to lie that it's there. We're not going to lie that it's there. And we men, we married men, we go through these temptations. But one thing that you must understand, Chrisley, this was in a conversation with one of the married men. Of course, they didn't want to be on the episode. They didn't want to be on the episode because probably issues, Kwanganda, Shani, it's not as, I think for men, it's a bit more difficult for them to talk about certain things, especially when it involves the media, because they're, afraid of maybe this or that, yeah. Anyway, so I just thought of bringing in their views, and this is one other view that said, look, these are things that we can't hide, and these are things that men are prone to and eventually will happen. And so I've been just running my head on this matter. And so I'm gonna say it at the end of the episode. I want us to hear what Danny TSG has to close with, guys. We heard in the previous episode what he had to say, and he came in with the whole contentment, and he said, look, and for him, I love how he comes out, and for him, his view is, look, and he comes off from the more biblical side of things, where, we're Christians, we're believers, and if you're not, we're not asking you to believe in what we believe, but I believe that life has principles and foundations that we all live by somehow, somewhere. Even those who worship the devil have principles. They've got a certain way in which they do things. So I think, if you're going to call yourself a Christian and a believer, there is just a certain way we have principles to build our foundation of our relationships, right? So Danny TSG comes in to close off with an amazing saying. And I love how he starts this with an analogy about white chain, just how they just change their toys and how toys change. You know what I mean? Like he says, look, and for me, what I picked out from what I'm about to play you and what Danny is about to say just now is immaturity is inevitable. You know what I mean? Karaka childishness, it's pretty much still there, especially if you believe that you cannot suppress, if you believe that you cannot control your desires.
The reality is that all these things come at a cost, you know? And sometimes what goes around comes around. You reap what you sow. So if you don't focus on bola, you know, so if you're making all the poor decisions and thinking you'll get away with them, you're lying to yourself. There will be a time when you meet a man who has been sleeping around and lying to other people, and he'll mess up your health or mess you up or cause you to abort and you mess up your system, you know? So there's all those things that we don't want to talk about, you know? There's all those things that do not honor God. And for me, that's the big thing. That's the big idea, is that having a side chick is not God honoring. You know, it will mess up your home if you're married. And if you're in a committed relationship that you're hoping will get to marriage, it sets a bad tone. It sets a bad pattern. Sooner or later, you'll be in marriage and you'll think it's normal. Okay? So, yeah, I think those are my 2 cents on that. It's that in whatever we do, let me sum up everything I'm saying on this issue of married men and side chicks. In whatever you do, you need to honor God. You know, you need to glorify God. And in practice, that looks like faithfulness. In practice, that looks like saying no to some friendships, telling that woman that, look, I'm not willing to let go of my beautiful marriage. You know, this is temporal pleasure. It's just 5 minutes, at the most 20. If you've taken some drugs that make you last longer, it's going to take 30 minutes or an hour or whatever, you know, but you get my point. It's that those couple of minutes are not worth it. So we need to be very, very careful. We need to be careful. As I'm saying we, because I'm married as well, and I always have to choose my wife. Even in situations where there are girls throwing themselves at me or trying to slide in my DM, I need to be careful. And what I've done is that my wife has access to everything. You know, my socials, my phone. I mean, she knows my passwords. Kwambila ne yako ATM. So we have an open book policy in the house. We can't cover up anything. You know, we need to talk about everything. And that's been helpful. So that would be my encouragement. If you're a married person, please protect your marriage. Some people don't care. They've got nothing to lose. You have everything to lose. You know, your kids won't find pleasure in their mom being hurt. You know, and if you've already made some poor decisions, own up. It might lead to divorce. It might mess up your relationship, at least for, you know, the couple of months that come after you've, you know, just taken ownership and responsibility. But I think it will help you, because if you just stay there, it will become a habit, before long an addiction, where you just can't see a skirt pass by. You want to engage, you want to taste, you know. And for me, I've come to know, that's one thing mom told me. You know, today there'll be young ones. Those young ones will become, you know, young adults. But in my 20s, you know, so you want to know that at the end of the day, I need to teach myself. I need to teach my heart contentment. I need to let God work on me so that I honor Him in everything that I do. So before I go, there's one more thing I would like to talk about, and it's female friends. Should a married man have younger female friends? Should they go out on dates? Should they have fun? You know, ile ya kweba fiat tapadi village tikapa, but muna ndio. Yeah, I know it sounds funny, but we need to talk about it. I honestly think there's no problem with having a female friend. But the but had to come somewhere. Yeah, but it should be in its rightful context, okay? The right confines, knowing that, okay, we can't do this. We can't be chilling just the two of us. It's late to the bonse ku boarding house yove. So for me, I think that's not in order. That's wrong. Why? You have divided loyalties. Your wife needs you, sir. You need to go back home and build your marriage. I'm saying this because to just put it out there that, look, just have all the female friends out here, and I think that would be risky. What am I saying? You can have a female friend as a married man, but there should be limits. You need to know that, okay, we can't do this because, for starters, I'm not even doing it with my wife, who should be my best friend. The Bible honors marriage. The Bible honors the oneness that marriage brings. Me and Chris can have a friendship, but it will be a guided friendship. It won't, how can I put it? My relationship with my wife has no boundaries. We can do anything. We are one. That's the woman who, when the Lord wills, I'll be making babies with. Okay, she's my person. She's everything. We've got a oneness that comes with no shame. There's obviously a stereotype. There are people who will tell you just can't have a friend exclusively. As a husband, mwanakash, anything can happen. And I stand with those people, honestly. I think, in fact, let me not say I stand with those people. Let me say I stand with people who say you can have a friend who's a female, but it should be a guided friendship. Transparent, it should be open, it should be clearly defined, because if it's not defined, anything will happen. So I'm of the view that we need to be careful. Remember, I started this conversation with saying we are sinful as people. So for that very reason, we need to be extra careful, because when you put two sinful people together with passions, people who can get attracted to each other, and it's not guided, anything can happen.
Definitely, as we've heard it from the cat's mouth, itself, marriage is it's not the easiest thing from what we've seen or heard. And many people may not or have good experiences or anything good to say about it. But as we've heard from what Danny has said, he's saying it's a beautiful thing, and he's been doing it for years now. So him talking from a place of experience just adds up a little light to that dark tunnel that we all have, especially when it comes to perception of marriage. And we've seen that we have the husbands who really think that it's okay, to do this, or to have a girlfriend on the side. There's teachings, there's traditions on these matters. As we've heard it from, I had a whole conversation with one man who believes that the monogamy is from the Western culture itself. It's nothing African. And he says, look, our forefathers in those times, our black skin, there was no such a thing as one man, one woman. We were always polygamous, and his view is, the black skin, the black man is naturally polygamous, and so these debates go on and on and on. It's just like abortion, how we've seen in the United States, we've seen in Mexico, we've seen in different states that abortion now is becoming decriminalized. We're seeing there's so many changes, and they want now the decisions of Roe versus Wade to change. So things are changing every day, and we're seeing so many things in that very aspect, when it comes to marriage. And so, what's the story, husband and side chicks? We wanted to hear it from the husbands themselves. Unfortunately, I think I've mentioned this before, I couldn't get so many married men to talk on the matter, because it's really difficult to get them from their hiding or their shells and just say something on the matter, because like I mentioned earlier, it's not an easy institution. And I think Danny has put it right clearly. I think for me, I'm just really going to talk on behalf, or not on behalf, but rather to my gender, being female. We will get tempted or rather confined to the world of the married, but I believe strongly that as young women and as young ladies, and probably you're not, and you've never even been in such a situation, but I'm going to tell you that there is so many women or young girls out there who have been placed in these compromising situations, and I think we talk about them in the previous episodes. If you've not listened to them, I will recommend that you listen to them, because you will hear so many stories of how, young girls are aborting because a married man got her pregnant, and he just doesn't want that to be, it's going to tarnish his name, of course. So I think from me to you, or from me to myself too, is it worth it at the end of the day to be messing around with these men? And one married woman told me something very, very wise. And she said, I'm going to bring her on in one of the episodes we're going to be doing, coming up. And one thing she told me, said, Chrisley, you think you're using these men by their money. No, I used him because he bought, bottles of champagne, he sends me money, he does this and does that. That's just the bare minimum. And he told me, Chrisley, a married man can give you a 5,000 kwacha. You're not using him. He's using you, and we think because they've spent money on us that we are the ones in the lead. And she told me, she said, Chrisley, think about it, and she always talks like that. She's always, think about it. So I normally like to pick her brain from time to time. So I think as young women, it would be really good if we also just sought some advice from married women, or just married people, people that are older than us. I think that would be great sometimes to just go out of your age group. I don't normally socialize with people that are my age. I normally like to find myself around people that are older, because therein lies wisdom when you are found in the counsel of people that are older than you. Fingi. Like, there's so much that we can learn from older people. So I think, as Danny has just put it, he's put it right clearly, and I'm pretty sure that we are able to just understand. So I think for me to you, as young women, as we grow in this society where everything is changing and evolving every day, and we're faced with different circumstances, we're faced in different situations, and we're faced with so many compromises that we feel like, we need to do this in order to do that. We need to do this, and we have this whole survival mechanism at the end of the day, just boom, defense mode. You're in defense mode, your body's in defense mode, and you feel like if you don't make a decision now, you're going to be cut to your throat. It's like now you have a gun to your head, and you feel like, if I don't make this decision, I'm not going to survive. But I think sometimes we don't. If I'm not with him, I'll not be with anybody else. I know he's married, but I'm willing to do that. And sometimes we put ourselves in these positions, these silly positions. And if you haven't listened to the previous episodes, in this series, even as I close the series, I fell in love with a married man. You hear stories. I think I had put on 5 girls, and they said their stories. They talked about how they fell in love and just what it did to them and their experiences. So in case you're curious, you can go back to that episode. I think there's much to learn. Like, I learned much from their stories, and they had to say what they had to say. So I'm pretty sure in the beginning of the episode, I had put out what you were going to learn from this episode, and I hope that has covered it. I hope that you've learned what you had to learn. I think for me, closing it is, I think married couples should have fun, and I agree 100% with Danny. Married couples should have fun. I've seen how Danny has fun with his wife. He goes out with his wife, and that's very true. I think sometimes it just, okay, I'm not going to say that this should be Bible truth for every other couple out there. I don't think every married couple should go out together, because I feel like, and I believe that certain, couples are just not built like that. I think certain couples are just built differently. Many people were not, especially for our older people, our elders, most of them were betrothed to one another, so they never got the chance to choose their spouses. So I think maybe, again, it's a whole other topic, why there's just discontentment or things have just been dishandled, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, I think from therein lies the issue. And at the end of the day, that's why they say marry your friend. I mean, don't just marry for marrying, because it gets complicated at the end of the day. You know, it gets complicated at the end of the day. And I've got a friend, her life seems to be doing great from what I see on her Instagram posts. But I don't think that's what it is in reality, to be honest with you. And I feel like sometimes, just to close off, let's be careful with what we admire from what we see. Because everything that we see, these things we admire and envy, is not what it is. You know, when I was in my third year at the time, it looked like, wow, you know, she's living her life. She's going to live her life. I mean, she's quit school to get married to, you know, a white man, and which is great, by the way. Hey, she's a lifestyle influencer now. You know, she just posts her life, what she does in a day, and there she's got 1,000 views, 1 million views, which is great, amazing. But when I look back now, I remember the conversations that I had with her, and she had dreams, she had goals, and she had plans for what she wanted. And it's unfortunate I never got the chance to actually just talk to her and say, why did you make this decision? Was it because of the money? Was it because of this is what you wanted for your life at the time? Because she was dating at the time, and she broke it off with her boyfriend, actually, to marry this. This man was 4 times older than her. Yeah, I think at the time she should have been 50, if I'm not mistaken. And she was young. She was in her 4th year, and she dropped out, broke up with her boyfriend, and said, you know what, no. So I remember conversations that I would have with her prior her leaving, and I would always ask her and say, she would always encourage, because she was my senior in law school, and she would always advise me, encourage me, and tell me about her dreams and goals. And now that's not there anymore. It's different. And I remember meeting her 2 years after she got married, and before she left the country, of course. And she just told me, Chrisley, things change. And that's where the conversation ended. And I didn't want to go in a bit further to pry in business that wasn't really my business to hold. So, but I always figured that there was just something that happened that probably no one knows. And we look at things in hindsight, and we admire and we envy, and we want to do what the other girl is doing. You want to have what the other girl has. But at the end of the day, do you know what she had to put in? And I like what Danny says at the end of the day, that, for everything comes a cost. So definitely you're going to pay something, or something within you will die, even as we do these things that we want to do. And I remember talking to a friend of mine, as we close off, she fell in love with, this married guy. And that was a non-starter for her. She said, look, I respect his wife, and I'm not about to get into that business and whatever. So yeah, and that was what it was, right? But at the end of the day, there was so much she was paying for, as her being her. And I remember in that season of her life, she lost so much. But at the same time, she gained so much, because this man took care of her, literally. I think even paid her school and whatever. And hey, certain things I get to question, like, oh, so in that situation, was she supposed to say, God, thank you for that opportunity? But again, sometimes I say, but was it an opportunity? Then where do you think, if that didn't happen, who was going to come in? And that's where now my contention comes in, because now I'm questioning all these things. I'm like, who am I thinking at the end of the day? Because that guy literally took the girl through school, because there was really just no one. So now, who do we think? Do we say, God, thank you? Thank you for that opportunity. But this was from a married guy. So I think I'm going to close it off on that. Just a thought. If you have the answer, or if you can help me understand that point, you can come through in my DM if you have my number. Comment sections, comment anywhere, comment. If you listen to this on Anchor, There's actually voice messages. Normally people just send me voice messages. Even if you don't know me, even if you don't even have any account, you can just send in a voice message and just answer my question. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, which is even better, you can go through on the comment section. But yes, I think I'm going to close off on that thought. To what end? Certain things just happen. So to what end at the end of the day? But anyway, that is what it is. That's about the episode. Come through with all those comments, and thank you so much for listening thus far, and catch you in the next episode. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about misplaced father figures in men and in women. So where are you? I'm going to talk about how we have this gap of a father figure in society. And I don't know about you, but there is just a whole gap, both in men and in women. And hey, we're going to talk about that in the next episode, 2 of them, which will be on a Friday. But for now, it's bye, and we'll talk again.